All right, hello everyone. Eric Marks, findingmiddleearth.com, and today I'm going to do another post-processing video using the new On1 Photo Raw 2017. So if you guys saw my last, I think it was 2 videos ago actually, I did kind of an updated review on the On1 Photo Raw software, and they've improved a lot of the things that I originally didn't like about it, and they're continuing to improve things. I've spoken to their marketing director again, and I don't think I can say exactly what's coming yet. I'm not sure if I can, so I better not yet, but he has assured me that soon there's even more awesome features coming, because I saw a lot of comments on my last video saying, oh, I wish it had this, and I wish it had this. A lot of those things and more are coming very soon, so they're going to continue to update this thing. They're all free updates. I think this is going to grow into a very, very strong competitor to Lightroom and Capture One. Eventually, it's going to get there. So I'm going to do another edit here. So before we get started, if you head to findingmiddleearth.com, I just wanted to quickly mention this. You'll notice there's a new big subscribe button in the top right of my website. And if you click subscribe, there's a little pop-up box there. And if you type in your email, you can actually have access to a new 45-minute video that I created. It's just for my newsletter members, which is completely free. And if you shoot your email in that box, you'll get access to a free video all about landscape photography gear. I walk you through all 3 of my bags full of kit. I have like 10 bags, but I take you through 3 of my bags full of kit: Nikon kit, Fujifilm kit, a couple other things. I talk about all the accessories that I use outside the bag, and then I end the video with a segment talking about my favorite lenses for landscape photography. So if you're interested in that, shoot on over there to my website and handle that. So without further ado, let's go and get started. So this is Panama City Beach, Florida. All right, this was last year when I was there, and this was a beautiful scene. It was a really, really nice sunset this night. There was nice sunsets there almost every night. This one was actually, believe it or not, it's beautiful, but this one was one of the worst sunsets compared to the rest of the other nights because of the clouds just weren't. I mean, it's a beautiful sunset, but the clouds were killer all the other nights. So I'm just kind of going through some of these photos here to see which one I like but I normally always look at the waves to see which one I like the best. So I'm trying to see which one I like the best to edit here. I like that one. I like the way the waves are kind of coming towards me there. Ooh, I think I like, let me keep going here. I think I like this one here the best. I like how the reflection of the sun kind of shoots off the tip of these waves and has this big nice orange puddle of light right here. So I think we're going to choose this one to work on. Let's go into the develop module here, and again, this is just going to be a quick edit. When I do my post-processing, I use Photoshop and a lot of other plugins involved, but I'm doing this because there's a lot of people that don't like that kind of post-processing. So whenever I do these videos, I try to just do everything inside of one program when I do these free ones, so that you can just see, you know, how I would do it just in On1 Photo Raw or just in Lightroom or something like that. So the first thing I want to do, if you zoom into the sun, you can see it's got that annoying halo around it. So I want to make sure that I purposely blow out the sun. I want to really crank up the whites and the highlights to just blow out the sun, but I want to take the exposure down so we get that detail back in the clouds there. So see, I'm blowing out the sun. That's working out nice, but I'm trying to make sure I don't lose out on the color there. So let's crank the shadows a little bit. We know how well the shadows work in On1. We've been over that quite a few times now. Add some contrast, get some crisp and colors back in here. Yeah, I like that. All right, I think I'll stick with about 20% on that one. Let's see, let me go to my histogram, see how I'm doing on the blacks and the whites. I think I'll crank the blacks up just a little bit. All right. Structure, I'm not going to touch that. Haze, let's just see what haze does if we add some dehaze. Yeah, I don't like what that's doing to the sun, so let's kill that. Let's definitely add some warm tones back in this for sure, and then we'll finish excuse me, we'll finish that off with some magentas, because the sky, I remember that night, the sky was really pink, but the raw file is just, it's got all that data in there, we just have to find it and pull it out. Let's keep adding some magentas in there. All right, we'll worry about vibrance in a minute. The first thing I'm going to do is go back to Old Faithful here. I'm going to go to Effects and go to my favorite filter. Let's see, let's go back to... where's my favorite filter at? Let's go to favorites. Here we go. It's called darker. So darker obviously makes everything darker, but it also brings out a lot of nice color. So the nice thing about On1 Photo Raw versus any other, editing program or I guess specifically Lightroom is when you add layers and filters, you can actually adjust the opacity of the layer, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful add-on. So I don't have to use 100% of the darker filter. I can just kind of ease it in, because if I go here, it's obviously way too dark. So let's ease that in, because that basically just gives us some more contrast. So yeah, I'm going to use like 70% of that, okay? And then I'm also going to kind of edit that filter and add some shadows back in to the foreground there. And might even blow out the highlights just a little bit. I'm going to just crank those up just a tad. Add some contrast. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, so let's go back to overall adjustments here. Let's go to local adjustments, all right? Now, these are fun to play with because you can kind of stack different local adjustments as if they were layers, and you can adjust the opacity of those as well. So let's see. I want to make a vibrance layer, and what's cool is if you choose vibrance, all right, it actually kind of does some kind of like a preset local adjustment for you. It kind of cranks up the vibrance, and you don't even have to go to, it just kind of sets it at 30%. So of course you can change that, but I'm going to go here and just use the regular preset with a nice big soft brush. We're going to make sure that's feathered at 100%. I'm going to make a big brush, and I'm just going to paint the vibrance right here where the color is, all right? And I'm not going to paint it over this bit yet. Actually, I might just a little bit to see what it does, because that color is already really popping. So I want to be careful not to lose the the reality of the photo here. And what's cool is we can make another layer, all right? I'm going to do another vibrance layer, all right? And on this vibrance layer, I'm going to attack just the sun area, just like right here around the sun. I'm not going to do the whole sky. I really want those pinks to pop. All right, I might actually do a little bit over here in the corner, but I'm trying not to do the top part of the sky. We're just going to stay around here, all right? Just in these little pinks on the bottom of the horizon. And, of course, the water here. All right, and then I'm going to actually back that off a little bit. We're not going to use 100% of that. You can see the subtle difference that makes. We're just going to use, like, let's say, like 60%. All right, then I'm going to make another local adjustment layer. On this one, I'm going to do a lighten, all right? And that kind of presets it to one stop, but that's going to be way too much. So I'm going to take that down to like, let's say 0.15. And let's see, I'm going to add some blue tones into that and some pink tones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the brush smaller. I'm just going to paint the water. All right, and it's going to be subtle, but it's going to be nice. So we'll paint some blues and magentas back into the water. All right. And I might even crank up that exposure a little bit more. We don't want to make it too bright because the sun is really kind of the star of the image here. We don't want to ruin that with an overbearing foreground. But let's crank it a little bit. So you can see if I crank it a lot, it's going to ruin everything. So let's just be nice and easy with it. All right, we'll try to get back here without making things too noticeable on the horizon line. I'm going to add some contrast to the water. All right, and I'm also going to add another local adjustment layer. All right, I know I'm going kind of crazy here. And I'm going to add a detail layer. All right, and what this does is it cranks the detail slider up. It's kind of like a clarity slider, but it gives it kind of an HDR look. And I'm not going to use 100% of the layer, but I like what it does to certain parts of the water. So I'm going to paint that detail over the... oh, got an email there. I'm going to paint the detail over the white caps of the water here, all right? Just to make those just kind of, I don't know, I guess just kind of pop from the rest of the waves, because these little white foamy bits are kind of important that we have proper contrast here. Now what I'm basically doing here is I'm just kind of chiseling out this water line. I'm chiseling it out to make it look more three-dimensional. I'm just going to work on the edge there. I'm going to add even more detail. We're going to crank that sucker up. All right. Maybe even crank the... Nah, I'm not going to crank the exposure. I take that back. I am going to add a little bit more let's add another local adjustment layer. I'm going kind of crazy here. All right, let's do another detail layer. And I'm going to add that to the actual waves, but not the white caps that I have been doing. All right. Let's make sure we avoid those little white caps. Add it all in here. And then the great thing about that you can keep perpetually adding layers, the great thing about that is you don't have to use 100% opacity of those layers. I am going to chisel out the water line again because I think that really makes it just separate from the sand. I mean, it's a big difference here when I'm looking on the monitor. So I'm gonna tone that back now. I'm gonna use like 70-ish% of that. All right, so we'll do that. What else? I think I'm gonna crop the image. I don't like the sand. I thought I was gonna like the sand in the foreground. I think I'm gonna crop it just to where it's a tiny little bit of the sand showing, and then we'll crop this down, make this kind of a pano. All right, I don't think that's too bad. Let's go ahead and lock that in. Yeah, I think that's just a much tidier composition. All right, let's go back to the overall settings, see if we can change anything else over here. Go back to develop. And let's see what I want to do. Let's try to take the highlights down now a little bit, now that we've kind of controlled the sun a little more. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the highlights down, and then I'm going to create a local adjustment that's going to be a lighten layer. So it's going to paint exposure over the sun, and obviously that's way too much. I just need to overexpose that sun a little more so it gets rid of that that annoying halo that gets around those sun balls sometimes. Let's just see what that does. Make the sun a little more overpowering. All right, I'm trying to, there's a fine line here, so you just got to be careful. There's still a little bit of a halo, but without going into Photoshop, I think that's good enough. It's not too noticeable, so we'll be okay with that. We'll come back over to the overall settings and crank up the whites again. All right, because that kind of helps me blow the sun out just a little bit more. All right, let's see what structure does. Why not? We already did a lot of detail. Let's just see what it does. That's not bad. It gives the water kind of an HDR-y look that I'm typically not a big fan of, but I think it kind of works here because I didn't drag the shutter. It wasn't a very slow shutter speed, so there is still a lot of form and texture to the water. So the structure tool in On1 kind of brings that out a little bit. Do I want to add more yellows, some warm tones? I think I might. All right, add some more pinks with that. I'm still having trouble wondering if I should make the water a little more blue or green. I don't know, because there's this thing called color separation, all right? And color separation typically says that you don't have to saturate the heck out of each color to make the viewers, really understand how vibrant the scene was. You can separate the colors, meaning if you make the blues like this perfect tone of blue, then it makes the pinks seem more pink. And if you make the pink the perfect tone of pink, then it makes the blue seem more blue. It's kind of this weird mind trick, but it works. So I'm trying to gauge whether I want to make the water a different tone, and it might be tough to do in here without some tools that I normally use in Photoshop. There's a lot of tools in Photoshop that I normally use. And by the way, if you follow my channel, I'm coming out with a full landscape photography post-processing tutorial. It's going to be like over 10 hours of video. Coming out with that soon, and that will have all my tricks on how I get everything perfect. So let's see. I don't know. I guess we'll add some blues, just like a lot of blues, and maybe some vibrance, and let's just see what happens. This could either look really good or really bad. All right, let's see. I can't tell if it's gonna look really bad or not. Let's just go crazy with the blues and see what happens. So yeah, that's obviously way too blue. Let's add some greens. So maybe the issue is I'm adding too much green. I think that's what I don't like. So let's go opposite and add some magenta. That way it's kind of, yeah, okay, so I think that's the problem. Because we have such a pink sky that the water isn't picking up enough of that sheen, that sheen and reflection. Let's add some blue and pink. Let's keep going with the pinks here. All right. We'll tone down the pink just a little bit. We'll go up here where it says paint in. We'll do paint out, which is just going to do some opposite. And we'll paint the pink out of this little foreground area. I don't think it needs it there. Okay, so we'll just say we're happy with that. What else do we want to do? let's I think that's good. Again, I had a lot of people, I've just had a lot of, you know, different opinions and different people asking me different things since the last On1 video, and they say, Eric, you know, what if I don't want to do, you always talk about Photoshop and all these plugins, you know, can you process a photo just in On1 or just in Lightroom and you know, make it to where it's something that you would post. So I'm going to stop now because there's a lot of people that just love the photography portion and they hate being back at the computer. I kind of enjoy both. I think that post-processing is really fun. It's kind of the step 2 to me. You know, it's the creative process starts in the camera, and then I think I just kind of finish it up here. But I'm going to stop and call it quits. I think this is a very acceptable image. You know, I don't think it's some of my best work. I don't think I would post it on my portfolio, but it's great for Facebook and Instagram and to share with friends and family as to where I was vacationing last year. And it's a beautiful scene. I mean, it was wonderful being there. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions about this, this was requested by a viewer, by the way. They specifically said they wanted to see how On1 handled water. The next video is going to be editing a portrait, because I also had someone want to know how On1 handles portraiture. So we'll do that next. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you would like to stay up to date on all of my photography videos and free tutorials, please consider subscribing by clicking on my face. And if you would like to find out more about me and how to improve your photography, visit my website at findingmiddleearth.com.